everybody, and welcome. It's Devo here, and today we'll be taking a look at the third of the 4-man dungeons released in patch 2.4, Snowcloak. As you can see right here, it's unlocked as part of the story mode, so you do have to advance the 2.4 story a little bit before you can unlock the dungeon. The quest to unlock the dungeon is called the Path of the Righteous, and it will send you to what eventually becomes the entrance to Snowcloak. The entrance appears on the map, aptly named Snowcloak. Many people will recognize this as the place where the behemoth fate he taketh with his eyes spawns. Now, up until this point, we've been tracking the infamous Lady Iceheart, leader of the heretics. And we know about many of the caves present in the area, but this is the first time where we're actually going to enter them in order to track her down. Now, as to not play spoiler, I'm going to completely skip over the story cutscene. But it is with this we've unlocked Snowcloak and is now available in our duty finder, ready for us to enter. And enter we shall. These initial trash pools are mostly basic fauna with the same moves you've seen so many times before. Nothing too flashy. These Spriggan enemies, however, are pure magic casters, which makes gathering them up into a nice AoE pack pretty good. Bomb, while blue, is an exact replica of any other bomb enemy you can find. He does, however, detonate instead of self-destruct. You don't have to worry about dying with him. And with that, we find ourselves at the first boss, Wandeel, a large-looking ice elemental, ice giant type of thing. This boss, like all three in this instance, have a very wintry motif to their moves. Throughout the fight, the boss will spawn blue bomb ads that need to be focused down by the DPS before they detonate and kill everybody. The boss will also use a room-wide AoE move called Snowdrift, which will deal a small amount of AoE damage and put a stacking debuff called Snowdrift on. When you reach 4 stacks of Snowdrift, you will be disabled and essentially petrified while being frozen. I won't say much more about the circles on the ground other than they're circles on the ground. You should know what you need to do by now. And you should know in a fight that will eventually freeze you, those will end up hitting you at some point if you do not position yourself correctly. By progressing, the boss will use an ability called Tundra, which makes the arena that you fight him in essentially smaller, as the outer edges will begin to freeze you if you touch them. Now, unless your DPS is extremely good, the Snowdrift debuff will eventually stack to 4 and will freeze your entire party in place for a small amount of time. Make sure your tank is healed to full before this freeze goes off, otherwise he will likely die. All of these mechanics compounded, Wandeel essentially is a battle of attrition. But you will eventually fall and you'll find yourself on to the next boss. This batch of trash pools are Gubu and Ice Elementals. The Gubus will drop from snowballs in the ceiling at periodic points as you continue to pull. The ice elementals spawn in these sections of biting winds. Essentially, if you stand in the wind while it's blowing and highlighted on the ground, you will be slowed and take damage over time. Simply pull them back or pull them through. With all of this trash cleared, you're now free to fight the second boss, the Yeti. As you'll notice really quickly, the Yeti has a massive HP pool, and he's exactly like you think he is. He is one of those types of bosses. However, the mechanic of doing damage with him is a little entertaining. Throughout the fight, the Yeti will spawn an almost impossible amount of adds to deal with. What you need to do is have him use his Frozen Mist ability on the Spriggan adds. Any Spriggans hit with the Frozen Mist ability will turn into snowballs. Any snowball that takes a single point of damage will explode and deal damage to the Yeti. The Frostbound adds, however, do not get turned into snowballs and have to be damaged down by the defense. The Yeti, however, has an AoE move that affects the entire arena. It is called Northerlies, and if you do not erupt a snowball around him while he's in the cast animation, he will deal a massive amount of AoE damage to the entire arena and likely life. Keeping these mechanics in mind, essentially you're always moving the frontal cone of the boss in order to hit more and more adds and stack up more and more snowballs. This means everyone has to be paying attention to where the tank is positioning at the time. It is also entirely possible to hit already frozen snowballs with the boss's cone attack. This increases their size up to 3 times, and when they explode they will deal increasing damage to the boss, taking more and more of the HP. Enough erupted snowballs, the Yeti will fall and you can move on to the final boss. This section of trash is the longest section of trash in the instance. When these ice whips erupt, they will essentially petrify you, freezing you in place and keeping you unable to act, so generally dodge them. Now we enter what a lot of people have started to call the treasure room. Now we enter the treasure room, where packs of mobs will spawn in and try to kill you. They're pretty much exact copies of everything you've fought thus far, so clear them as best you can, as quick as you can. last spawn in the room is a Cyclops, and he does exactly what you would expect him to do, with swipes and swings. Periodically, icicles will also drop from the ceiling, exploding, and you'll need to dodge. Treasure room cleared, we now move on to the heretics and dragons. The Avis are exactly like you have experienced in Stone Vigil Park. As are the heretics. They will begin channeling dragon blood immediately after you aggro them, so keep them stunned and DPS them down quickly. We now find ourselves at the final boss, which you may find familiar. That's right, everybody, it's Fenrir. One of Fenrir's basic abilities is a conal attack, so tank him facing away from the party, as usual. Fenrir will also use an arena-wide AoE ability called 1000-Year Storm. It will do a decent amount of damage, but can be healed through rather easily. One of Fenrir's two main mechanics is the icicle drop. 3 random icicles will drop around the room. 2 of these will target on party members and fly at them in straight trajectories and need to be dodged. The third will stay as a pillar in the room and instead explode for damage, much like in the treasure room. The second main mechanic is Lunar Cry. Every second icicle drop, Fenrir will begin channeling an ability called Lunar Cry. You need to use the icicle that remains in the room as a pillar in order to line of sight him, in order to not get hit by Lunar Cry. If you get hit by Lunar Cry, you will be frozen, and Fenrir will hit you with a massive damaging move called a Collective Fight. The combination of ignoring Lunar Cry, getting hit by a Collective Fight, and a 1000-Year Storm cast will likely wipe your party on the spot. As it did us here. Now let's see what it looks like when you actually do the mechanic correctly. Turns out it actually makes the fight really simple. that concludes our video on Snowcloak. Thank you all for watching. As always, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.